I've mentioned the issue around fundraising and around how fraudsters will try and spoof charities. Maybe it doesn't affect the charities so much, but of course what it is doing is diverting money that should be going into the right campaigns, ending up in fraudsters' pockets, which no one wants to see. I mean, there is an added aspect of that, as charities, you know, we need to think about helping our donors to feel safe about donating to us as well, and making sure that the way we engage with our donors is in such a way that gives them more confidence to carry on with that transaction. But some of the key things I think that really come out of COVID is the fact that most workers are having to work from home. The remote access technology that's out there at the moment has been under intense attack. A lot of the big names, you may be aware of organisations like Cisco's and Juniper and Palo Alto and a lot of the big security companies that provide the sort of technologies that people are using to get access to their working environments, the charity working environments. They've been under attack in order to, at the very least, get onto home desktops, maybe even been able to snoop on your user IDs and passwords, and we call that key logging. It's a little bit scary, but it's a piece of malware that sits on your PC and records everything you type in and sends it off. When they're aware of how that account gets used, those credentials get used, they can take advantage of that. And so what it does mean is that, you know, you need to have to think about, as a charity, talking to your staff and your workers who are working from home about their environment, their home working environment, how they're keeping their computers safe, how they're making sure that the way they work is safe as well. So there are lots of aspects to securing the perimeter and the working environment that are under attack at the moment. Other things that we need to think about, of course, is difficulty in dealing with your customers, difficulty with dealing with your suppliers. And the supplier one is quite an important one, because often we will use suppliers to perform key parts of the service, looking after our systems, looking after our office locations, looking after our data, doing certain aspects of our business processes. And of course, those suppliers, they're also, the individuals we speak to are also working from home on computers, sometimes their own computers. And so the exposure to risk of all parts of the communications that we have under lockdown is exposed to a lot more risk. And of course, one of the things you want to try and do is to make sure that your customers and your suppliers are thinking about these things. We want to make sure that when we're talking to people, we're talking to the right people. We want to make sure that people are talking to us, we can give them assurance that they're actually talking to us and not talking to somebody else. So there are lots of complexities here, and the fraudsters, of course, take advantage of all of these things. And again, I'll go back to the comment around awareness for everybody, and making sure that they're thinking about how they're communicating, what they're communicating, and giving some kind of assurance, and just question yourself, actually, is this the best way of doing this at the moment? As we kind of get used to the new norm, and I think as you move forward, there's some other key decisions and things to think about how we're going to work in the future. But just coming out of this particular step, we have to start thinking, okay, now we're working, it is reasonably effective, I hope. Is this the best way of doing this? Do we need to start doing some tuning now, and making sure that we're not leaving anything out there that could be exploited by those malicious intents from the fraudsters?